to Gota di Paz. Today it's the drop of peace because we will be speaking English so we can have a deep conversation with our international guest speaker, whom I will introduce in a moment. So thank you everyone listening live now and watching live, and everyone who will listen to this recording later. Welcome to Gota di Paz. Thank you for choosing content that is inspiring, that awakens you, that contributes to wellness, that contributes to creating a community that is resilient, well-informed, so we can become whole and have a peaceful world. That's what it's all about. So the theme of today is close to my heart, and I didn't know it was until I went to this exposition called The Journey by Henderson. And he's here with me right now, and I'll introduce him in a moment. And it's about the African slave trade in the transatlantic ocean, and portrayed with breathtaking paintings and poetry and colors, and the history behind all painting really captivated me, and which called me and inspired me to connect with Andre and have him here today with us. So before we go into the topic, let's start with a breathing moment, right? To connect with this moment, to clear the mind and be fully present. So sit comfortably. You can relax your hands on your heart if you wish. And feel your breath flowing through the nose. Breathe in. Breathe out. Calm your heart. Breathe in. Breathe out. Clear your mind. Breathe in deeper. Breathe out deeper. Your breath is your drop of peace. Notice how you feel right now after taking a shower of your breath. We don't only take external showers to refresh, but you can refresh inside with your own breath. Okay, so I'll introduce our special guest, Andre Manzel. I don't know if I pronounce it well. Henderson, born and raised in New York City, and now he's living and working in Atlanta and works as a full-time artist. He is self-taught. He taught himself to draw and paint since he's a youngster, and he has always been inspired by his intuition and desire to capture the human spirit. He graduated as a fine artist major and African study major at the Boulder, Colorado University, and quickly moved to Los Angeles, California, where unexpectedly a thriving career started as a graphic designer. He worked for prestigious industry in the fashion and entertainment world and became the most sought of artist as a graphic artist. But true passion always calls, so which brings Andre back to being a fine artist, working with original painting from his heart, and which led him to create this amazing series that's today still at the Fort Saltman of the slave trade in the transatlantic ocean. I've been there twice. I wish I could go again, but I'm going to see it again at the San Nicolas Art Fair this weekend. So if I would say everything Andre did, we would not stop, and you would think, wow, everything that Andre did, he must be 80 years old, but he's not. He's a young man full of intuition and passion. So let's hear Andre, and wait, we're going to do a little bit. Welcome, Andre.
Well, thank you for having me here. It's actually a blessing, and I'd like to thank the ancestors because they're always guiding us and all of us into the paths in which we need to be in. So thank you for that, and I give thanks and honor to the ancestors.
Beautiful. Thank you for bringing the ancestors in. A curiosity question. How, because you described as a youngster already, you felt to capture the human spirit. In what ways can you explain?
Well, as a young child, I was continuously drawing quite a bit. I mean, my mother really never needed to worry about me or worry about having literally a babysitter, because as long as she gave me a pencil and a piece of paper, she knew I would be fine. And that would go on for hours. And as I got older, the only way I knew what time it was when I heard the birds chirping. And then I would quickly throw myself under the covers to pretend that I was asleep all night and wake up and go to school. And this would happen continuously throughout the week. So I was always drawing and creating.
Wow, that's impressive. You still have some of those drawings?
Yes, I do.
Oh, exciting.
Actually, I do have some.
Beautiful. Yeah. So can we rewind? I just learned that it's 15 years ago that you started with your first painting of the journey. Mm-hmm. I thought it was a few years. So the story is even more profound than I thought. Mm-hmm. So there you were, as I understood, in a moment of, you could say, self-realization or insight, because you were in this booming career and then you shift to Atlanta, and there you felt that you were in doubt or not sure where to go. Can you bring us back to that moment?
Sure. I was working on my corporate design job in New York had dissolved, and I was really just trying to figure out what to do next. I started and funded my own documentary film called The Mystic Artist, and it was trying to find the mystery and the mysticism in art, because I knew art, from my viewpoint, had divinity in it. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to have a conversation with other artists to discover their particular divinity, or how they got in touch with their creative self. And that brought me to travel around the United States, but in particular it brought me to Atlanta quite a bit, because a number of artists at the time, I was still living in New York, lived in Atlanta. And I befriended two wonderful artists, Gail Foster, who's no longer with us, and Tom Swanston, her husband, had given me access to their studio for the summer, which was wonderful, because at that particular time, just living in a small apartment in New York, there was not an ounce of time to paint or to draw. It was all about fashion. It was all about that particular job that I had as a senior designer. So when I got to the studio and I had these large canvases and I had all this paint and I had everything I needed, I just literally didn't have any idea what to paint. And I got extremely frustrated. I thought, oh my goodness, I'm just wasting so much paint. I'm just sloshing paint around the canvas. I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe this is just a hobby. You can always go back to New York. You can always, move to Los Angeles. So you just came
to a moment of a deep questioning of your purpose in life, even.
Right. It was a huge turning point of what trajectory was I going to keep. But I knew in the industry that I was in, it wasn't feeding my soul at all. Although it had all the trappings of things that people think they want, the prestige, the finance, all the other things, it wasn't feeding me. There was something that had been starved for quite some time. So one early morning, it must have been 2:30 in the morning, or maybe even later, maybe 3 o'clock in the morning, I stood in front of one of the pieces and I said to myself, my inner self, I said, gosh, I don't know what to paint. Maybe I'm just a hobbyist, and that's okay. You can always paint every now and then. As long as you're painting, you're happy, because that's part of who I'll always be. And then I heard a voice, which has been with me ever since, that said, paint something for us. And I said, well, who are you? I dared to ask that question, and they said, we're the ones who've come before you, and we're the reason why you're here. And from that point on, I said to myself, those are my ancestors. how do I, what do I paint now? How do I honor them? What's the story behind them? And what do they want from me? And each step and each brushstroke and color was chosen by them. And so I created the series of the journey, which in and of itself grew in, different ways and different sizes as far as the artwork is considered as well.
And interesting is that now it is all that you do is paint for the ancestors.
Yes, it is. And it's been a true journey, because it's being an artist is not the easiest life, because I'm painting a subject that is sometimes pushed aside, sometimes forgotten. But I'm trying to paint it I'm painting it from a number of standpoints. I'm painting it to honor. I'm also painting and learning about the historical context of it. But I'm also painting from a spiritual context. And I say, people ask, are you, religious in any way? I say, well, my art is my religion. And it truly is, because I treat it as such.
Yes. And when I walked in the gallery, each painting spoke to me. Immediately I felt the depth, and I felt like I can use the words now. Like you said, I can feel the touch of the ancestors there, like a deep carrying energy throughout the exhibition, like a sense of sacredness and serenity. And not only that, each painting would trigger something in me. Like, I don't know if it's a memory, because I do have my father's side that is African American, which I don't know. I don't have connection with that. So it's a part of my own story that is not explored. So some things were triggered in me, and call it ancestral healing or intergenerational healing. So I did feel that process going on inside me. Did you have something similar when working with this, that it would personally also?
Yes, absolutely. When I started these particular pieces, there is a process. So there is specific music that I play. There is sometimes a candle that I light. There is a prayer to ask them to join me and guide me. And then I begin to work. And from time to time, I have no idea what I'm going to paint. I really don't. It just really shows itself, and it evolves. And it can evolve in a day, or it can evolve over a week, and I'll just leave it, and I'll wait to see its presence evolve. There's also times I tell people there are literally tears in those paintings, because it has affected me so deeply in so many ways that I literally am shedding tears while I'm painting these pieces, and they're falling into the canvas.
Can you tell of such a painting? Which one has most tears, and why?
One of the pieces that comes to mind is the Abyss painting.
Which one is that again?
Which is the one in which she is falling into the water.
That's exactly the one that
she has the shackles on, but there are these spheres, which are spirits that are helping her.
Yeah.
In particular, when I start telling that story, I remember the day in which, and these were large paintings, and sometimes I would paint them on the floor for movement, because I use my body a lot to paint with. So it's a lot of movement, it's a lot of stretching of the legs, it's a lot of, it's very, very, very intense. And even at times, I've gone into a meditative trance to where I completely dissolve and time doesn't exist at all.
While you're painting, you go into that state?
Not all the time, but sometimes. And it used to happen quite frequently because I was testing myself. One in particular instance, I was saying, okay, you're gonna paint every day, and you're gonna make sure that you're not a hobbyist, because you're gonna eventually have to figure out if this is true or not. So I would literally find myself painting for hours on end without stopping, 3-4 hours straight, until my entire body and my painting hand would cramp. And then my entire body would cramp, and I would fall into the floor. And I was like, okay, this is,
you've given all today.
You've got to take breaks. You've got to drink some water. This is too
breathe.
much. So I said, okay, what I'm going to do, I'll get an alarm clock, and I'll have it go off for 2 hours. I'll stretch, I'll take a break, I'll get some water. So I got a big alarm clock, not a digital alarm clock, one of those alarm clocks that go, you know, the loud ones.
Like an analog one, probably.
Yeah, really go, yeah, this is going to work. And one day I'm painting, and I'm painting, and I hear the very, very slight noise. Like, ding, ding, ding. I'm like, what is that noise? And as I kept asking myself, what is that noise? I slowly came out of it, and it was the analog clock, but I couldn't even hear that in the room.
That's intense.
So yes, to answer your question, there's definitely a depth there that I have discovered in myself about these particular pieces. And there's some other really incredible things that have occurred during this time.
Because each painting is unique on its own.
Yes.
Some you would see a correlation between paintings, but each is a unique story on its own.
Yes.
Like the one of the sinking lady in shackles, which is very graceful, by the way.
Thank you.
Even in a moment of such a horrendous and frightful experience, there is this serenity about how you painted her body, like surrendering as she's sinking down into the abyss.
Mm-hmm.
And then these very delicate spheres of light, which represent the ancestors. Is it a story that you hear, or you know in your mind, in your vision, okay, this is how the painting looks like, or you're painting in a trance and then you find out, oh, there is a lady in shackles?
It's a little bit of both. There's as I mentioned before, maybe there are no preconceived drawings or sketches. It's just how it comes to be. I know I want to paint an ocean. I know it's, the initial story was about the women that were falling into the ocean, because we all come from women, from a woman, and was a powerful story for me to hear that and wonder about that. And they still are predominantly women that were about falling into the water, but on that particular...
Why would the predominantly women fall in the water?
Because they were our mothers. So, and they were very important, I believe. And they fell into the waters, and sometimes they fell into the water with children, and they were pregnant. And so for me, that was just a powerful honoring, in a sense. Not to negate the men that had fallen off as well, but for some reason, the feminine energy for those pieces were calling me to create them.
And it's interesting, in the beginning I mentioned, for those who are just tuning in now, Andre did major in African history.
African studies.
African studies. And you did it because you were interested at that time, but then that remained dormant, and now it's full active again, and you mentioned that you research the story now.
Yes. So a lot of my pieces now, I'm influenced by the historical research that I do. For instance, there is a piece that you haven't seen, but it is called and it's as large as the one that's in the back room that you saw, the 400. It's called The Good Ship Jesus. And I named it The Good Ship Jesus because that was the actual name of a slave ship at that particular time. And what I wanted to do with this particular piece is, in the center piece of The Good Ship Jesus is a full-size woman, and she is painted very texturized, so I wanted to almost look like it was sculptured and coming out. But I also wanted to paint of full-size figures. So when you walked up to that piece, you could recognize that, wow,
Like it's real.
this is really, and this really happened in the depths of the waters in the ocean. And so, the good ship Jesus was, and people would say like, what? They called the ship the good ship Jesus? And I said, yes, they did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a few questions bubbling up. Definitely the one on the crosses in your
Yes.
paintings, but also I want to talk for a moment on the biggest painting in the room here
Okay.
in Aruba, which is the shark. There are quite a few sharks here and there. Can you tell a bit about that?
Yes. Well, once again, historically, when I was doing my work, the shark is the centerpiece in that piece. It's called 400, and it's in reference to the 400 years of oppression of African Americans and Africans in the United States. There's a lot of oppression still going on. However, I wanted to document the 400 years. But in my studies and in my research, I realized that sharks changed their migration to actually follow the slave ships. And they followed them because of, obviously, the bodies, and I mean, there were other animals that were thrown off, but in particular, there were millions and millions. We don't even have a number of how many enslaved Africans have fallen into the waters. But we do know that, the shark is an iconic figure. It's also, for me, not just the animal, it is the spirit animal as well. So I wanted to give reference to that. And in the body of that shark are historical dates that you'll find with, in particular, things that happened during African American and during the mid-Atlantic slave trade. So you'll have 1619, which was the documented period of when slavery started in the Americas, and different states legalized it at different particular times. There's the big, there's another. And then on the bottom of that piece has the dates of the European start. So when the Portuguese actually started and the Brazilians started the slave trade. So I wanted that piece to be historical, but I also wanted to show the enormity of the involvement of all the different countries and the different dates.
Yes. Yes, when we were at the exposition, you were standing in front of this piece, and I really appreciated that you had a group of children at some point in the U.S. Asking them what these dates meant. So I appreciate the educational part that you bring with this. So if anything, with all the paintings and art, what do you feel is your most important message that you want to convey with these paintings?
I think my important message for all of us, not just necessarily people of the African diaspora, but all of us, it's honoring, healing, and educating. I think there's a lot of healing to do from the colonizers. I think and there's definitely a lot of healing to do. As we were talking earlier before the show, I think it is definitely in our collective unconscious that resonates with me and maybe with you. So I think the honoring, healing, and educating is really important to actually heal the horrific things that happened at sea. And I get glimpses of what may have occurred. I think, maybe in my past life I have definitely come from one of those ships. I know my ancestors did, and our ancestors did, but I think maybe more closely, maybe I'm incarnated to do that because I was part of that.
Yes, yes. So when you say the word healing, of course it implies to face the past, because here in Aruba, it's quite a new topic in the last few years. It's getting more and more attention, but before is like we prefer not to talk about that past, but that's not how we move on. So we've had a show also at the Casa Cultura called Memoria Ancestral, and then with the Dutch government officially, giving their excuses those are all showing that we are in a phase in humanity that we need to face what happened. And I think that's a crucial part of the healing. And for me, when I was walking in the exposition, I got angry a few times. Remember I told you, I'm very angry.
I know.
And you standing next to me, so serene. And you're at a whole other level, working with this for 15 years. I mean, I just started a few years ago.
Right.
So I'm so curious about this growth that you have done in your own personal healing, because I feel it, I see it in you, and I also see it in the painting. And this brings me also to, because my anger is about the colonists. How could they do that, you know? And that anger, and also the religious part of forcing the slaves to take on a religion that's not theirs. So from where I'm standing, that's an atrocity. That's such a lack of respect. But you're embracing the cross in your work. Can you share about that?
Well, there are two parts of that. The first part is that the cross is another iconic piece that you'll see throughout a lot of my paintings, and it is to it was used to justify the enslavement of, you know, not just Africans but indigenous people throughout the world. So that's one portion of it. But the other portion of it, throughout the world, and in particularly in the Americas, the United States, where I'm from, it has served the African American community in a tremendous way, because it gave them a connectivity and a bond that has held communities together and belief systems together. And so there is definitely a value in that and an importance of that. So that's one of the reasons why I use it. And I may continue to use it. I don't know how much, but I definitely may continue to use it, because it is definitely a very, very powerful symbol. And I often get that question, which I'm happy to answer. So
were you at some point in the state where, like I am, or some people can be, with the anger and resentment? You were at that stage at some point, and gradually shifted to a stage of reconciliation and honoring the cross and seeing the fruits of it, the gifts of it. I don't know if I don't work from that space. The space that touched me with that was almost, how could this be, and how could they think that this was proper? I mean, I'm not a steward in Christianity at all. I can't tell you about a lot of things about it. So it was never an angry part, or there wasn't a part in which I was upset. There was more of a feeling of, I need to do this. It was a way of resolving the pain that I discovered. I didn't even know I had so much pain until I started doing that. And so it has gotten me to a place of not never accepting it, but trying to understand it. Wow. Never accepting it, but understand it.
Yes.
That's profound. You talk about the mother. There are different totems.
Yes.
Of the mother, and then most of them are standing on the cross. Can you tell what is the mother mythology for the Africans, what it stands for, and why the cross under?
Okay, so and there are crosses within those pieces as well,
also,
and they're very discreet, and I purposely wanted them to be discreet, and those pieces are about discovery, because each of them, I believe, have their own energy and their own purpose, healing vessels or portals, and I didn't want to single out in particular African deities, or a lot of African deities have specific names to them. So I wanted to do a collaborative in which they were just the mothers, and I wanted people to garner whichever one they connected to. But what they started out being was another sense of honoring, of the taking away of the religions that were forgotten. So what was taken and what was given. So what was taken was the ability for the enslaved Africans to practice their religions. And there was a multitude of different tribes and different religions and different deities that they all believed in, but they were all African. And so what was taken away was that, and what was given to them was the Bible. If you want to read a book, read this book. Mm-hmm. And so I thought it would be interesting to put both of those things in one place, in one space on a painting, but calling it a totem because a totem is a spiritual structure for me, and I wanted them to be freestanding. So there was actual physical movement. And, you know, we all go to a museum or we go to a gallery and we stand in front of a piece of artwork and we look at it and then we walk away from it. These pieces are quite high. I wouldn't know how tall you would call them in meters, but they're 8 feet tall and they have a presence. So now you're looking up to them. Yes. And they're looking down at you. Yes. And so I think there is a conversation there to actually be mobile through this type of artwork, and I've never seen anyone do anything like that before. So I wanted to, you know, in my vision, I was seeing them collectively all just by themselves in a room and having the participants and the viewers walk through them.
And it did have that effect on me as well. Them standing free in the middle of the room, being tall. And it's almost like their presence could help you hold the pain that would be triggered and the sadness, and it would give this serene atmosphere of a mother, mm-hmm. you know, that calm, steady energy. I think it really, it came across really as you intended it to.
Oh, great. I'm great.
Yes.
And, you know, when I paint, I literally paint with intention. Mm-hmm. I really try to put intention in everything I do, but particularly in paintings. And some pieces call their intention. So their intentions are through color, through items that they want. Some ask for earrings. Some want, can you work on my eyes a little bit more? Mm-hmm. I want my lips to be red. Or, mm-hmm. you know, and I literally am speaking out. I paint them all at the same time in the same room. And there's a conversation constantly. It's almost like if you have 5 kids that want something different to eat every day, and you have to feed them or they'll get louder and louder. So it is quite the process.
So it's interesting because it's quite crowded in the painting room.
Yes, it is. It is, especially when they're that tall and they're that large, and you have to get up on a step ladder, and it's physically taxing. At the end of the day, I'm mentally and physically completely drained.
And Andre, I was also compelled about the poetry here and there in the exposition, and I would read words like the seed, you carry the root, the seed. Can you elaborate on that? What do you mean with that?
I think that inspiration was inspired by my sister whispering to me. She's an amazing poet. Her name is Sophia Henderson Holmes. Mm-hmm. She has a number of books. She is no longer with us, but she's always with me. And I think it was a whisper from her, because I knew that I wanted something else on the back of the piece, but not to create a whole nother painting. So I thought, wow, there needs to be something here. And I just heard a little voice, why don't you write a poem? And so I wrote 3 poems, and some of them are redundant, meaning some of them are on, you know, there's not a poem for every totem, but the tomes do interject. And so one of the pieces, talking about the seed, is about the seed of why you and I are actually sitting here, being able to have, while all of us are sitting here having a conversation. It was the seeds of those mothers from those ships that allowed us to be here. But I also took it another step, and I actually spray painted those poems on top of the wooden crates that would be traveling across the very oceans that our ancestors found themselves in on those ships. So that was very important to do something in another form of honoring them.
Yes, powerful. Thank you for sharing that about your sister. And
sure.
And that we can honor her in this moment.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. And there are a lot of ships in the exposition, and one I didn't know. I confess, I have a lot of gaps in my education
That's okay.
on the slave trade and all that happened here close in the Caribbean. There was a shipwreck close to Aruba, right? One of the paintings that says the Aruba ship. Can you tell about that?
Well, what I was trying to do, and I wasn't able to find out, we know there are a lot of Dutch ships that travel in these waters, trafficking enslaved Africans. So I wanted to create a series of paintings and honoring those Africans that were trafficked by the Dutch ships. But I couldn't find the ship name. Now, what's interesting, a lot of universities in the United States, or I shouldn't say a lot, but Yale, Harvard, Princeton, and I believe Brown University has come up with a portal. And if you go into their website, they will tell you the name of the ship, the cargo of the ship, the captain of the ship, when the ship left port, what port it left from, and so on and so forth, which is really, really interesting to have those records. And the British kept extensive records. So my plan was to, okay, I can't find a ship name, and I know there had to be a last ship. Although I was informed that there were last ships officially, but even when slavery was abolished from the Netherlands, that there were still traders who were illegally trading Africans.
Those were the illegal ships?
Yes, from Curacao to the Caribbean and throughout. So there was no name. So that collection is just about honoring, knowing that there was a ship, but there wasn't, I didn't find a specific one.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Yes, because like you said, it's about education, and these are important things to know that happen so close to home. And to go back to the seat,
yes,
I like the analogy of the slaves who fell in the water were like seats.
Yes.
And we came forth from those seats.
We did.
I find that a beautiful way to honor them by thinking of them as seats.
Yes.
And you also mentioned the root in one of them. It says, the ancestor whispered, "You are not forsaken, you carry the root."
Yes. So thank you for that quotation. And so that's about that. Although they were taken, and although they may have fallen off the ship or found some demise or actually made it to somewhere in the Caribbean or the Americas, that we all still carry the root of them. And the roots of your children and the roots of, we all carry that root within us. And it's, once again, as we talked about earlier, is realizing that that root is within us, and that you can actually talk to it and ask it what it needs and what it wants.
Like you do.
Yeah.
I'm curious about when this journey started. How did your family respond to it? Are they embracing it? Do they also see it as a healing opportunity? How was it received in your direct circle?
Well, unfortunately, a lot of portions of my family weren't able to share this with me because they're no longer with us. But my brother was able to, and he was absolutely honored. And he was so proud of me, and he had tears in his eyes.
I have goosebumps now.
He had tears in his eyes at the openings that he was able to come to. But just his grace and his thanking, because he remembers me as he's my older brother, so he remembers me as a child, drawing all the time in my room with a pencil and a piece of paper. So to see this transition, but not only just a transition of me drawing all the time, but to see it take on this form of honoring and this form of experience was really powerful. He didn't see that coming. He said, "Wow, this is really, really, really interesting that you went this way."
Yes.
In particular because of the other industries that I was in, as I said, they had nothing to do with any of this.
Yes, it was apparel and fashion, and right.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you for making this shift.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for you, and you are touring the Caribbean. I understand your exposition is going to go to Curacao next?
We're hoping it is.
You're hoping?
Yeah, we don't, there's nothing, I will say out loud that yes, I hope the ancestors will bring it there. So it is a process to get these exhibitions funded, and there's a lot of moving parts. And there are a lot of wonderful people here in Aruba that I've met that have shown me their love and their passion for what I'm doing, and I'm grateful for all of them and everything. And I'm also grateful for the island of Aruba in and of itself. And I'm sure the spirits of Aruba are working here too. So I thank all.
Definitely. On my side, I feel that it is so.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm so grateful, and that I have this opportunity to elaborate on this with you here today, which is, by the way, your 4th radio interview.
Yes, it is.
Of your work, and the first international one in Aruba.
It is.
So, a few more questions.
Sure.
Vamos a ver. Yes. Were there any time resistance when showing this? Would you people would be resistant, or
there's a story about a piece that I call the 4th of July. And the 4th of July, and I'll tell the story short, but the 4th of July is a piece that is actually painted on a very large American flag. You're not supposed to do anything to a flag. You're not supposed to do anything to it. But I was moved by the intuitive ancestors to paint a slave ship on an American flag, which I believe is one of the most profound pieces I might have created to date, because it speaks in so many volumes.
Yes.
And so the resistance was, or the talk of there may be resistance. People, what are you doing? You can't do that. They're going to arrest you. You can't paint on an American flag. And then, oh my goodness, you're painting a slave ship.
Yes.
So I thought, well, this is what I'm told to do, and this is an expression of me being an artist. But I really didn't get any type of resistance.
No police knocking on your door.
No. Thank knock on wood. But
by the way, it's a beautiful piece. There is a print of it at the museum. Even the print is impressive. I can imagine seeing the whole piece.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is definitely a piece that if you go to my website, you can see it. I can share it with you if you would like to share it with some of your people here. But it was just it's such a powerful piece, and it has such a meaning on all levels. There, for instance, there's shackles that are hanging from the masts. There are ship masts that hold the sails. Those are literally crosses. There's a body that has fallen off into the water as the ship has passed by. So there's a lot going on, and the water is painted in it has a turbulence to it, and a feeling of its own spirituality in a sense. Because I think the ocean is a living being in a sense.
Mm-hmm. Yes. You bring me right back to that painting when I was standing in front of it. It indeed has all those factors that give you this in-depth experience of that moment. Mm-hmm. How intense it must have been, horrific. At the same time, being held by the beauty of the ocean that you portray so beautifully in all the ocean pieces. The wave, the foam on the wave, and the movement of the wave, like brings you right there almost.
Thank you.
Yes. So for any members of any diaspora community watching right now, whether you're African or Indian or Jewish, do you have a message for members of the community who have been uprooted from their native land and are living somewhere else, but still feel like you this deep connection and honoring to their own traditions and roots?
Yeah, what I would recommend is to be curious, discover your roots, and you can do that simply through your parents or through information you may have. We live in a world today in which you can look for anything and everything. And even, I would say instead of using your computer, physically go to the library and look and read and hold that book and blow the dust off of it and actually sit with something that's tangible. Because although we may be looking at things through the internet, a lot of things can be manipulated and changed. But the one things that aren't changed as yet, that's maybe coming as well, are the books. So look and discover your roots. Find yourself, find your family, and find your tribe.
That's a powerful message. Find your family, find your tribe, be curious. I like that. And to go to the library, because AI is great, but you don't know how everything is being changed nowadays, right? So thank goodness for libraries, and for books and for archives. Thank you for Andre, for artists who take time to, create from passion, and that serves for healing and for growth. I think that's powerful what you do, and I hope it's example for other artists, because I do believe we all have a seed in us.
Yes, we do.
That's meant to blossom into something, and not only for profit, but for our financial profit only, but also for profit for the whole humanity.
Right. And, speaking about, profitability and, art is a business. It definitely is. And, I have to remind myself every day of that. But the commerce from the art at this particular time is for people to see it and people to be moved by it, be inspired by it, be challenged by it, and hopefully take something home that will last for a very long time and trigger something. Would I love to sell art and things like that? But the intention for doing that is more of giving before getting, and sharing the gift that was given to me.
Beautiful. And how does the future look like a few years from now? What do you hope to?
Wow, I hope to literally travel the world with my artwork. And have, I have a couple of interesting projects that I'm working on now. I'm working on a project with Georgia State University, in which I'm working, and I'll tell you quickly about it. It is called the Shipyard ATL, and it is literally about telling the story of the seeds that have come from the ships sprinkled throughout the Caribbean and the Americas, and what those seeds have brought as far as inventions, medicine, all different types of things, all the positive, all the wonderful things, and not just music and things and entertainment, but even in a spiritual sense, what was brought from those ships. So it's called Shipyard ATL, and you'll be able to, I wanted to actually make a ship, but now it'll be AI generated, and you'll be able to put these glasses on and actually be able to see and experience all of these things that tell those stories about the seeds of the ship.
Beautiful.
So that's something in the future.
Beautiful. We look forward to that. Can you tell the viewers or listeners how we can support you and find your future work?
Absolutely. You can find me on Instagram at Andre Henderson 7426. You can reach me at andre-henderson.com. That's my website. You can also reach me on LinkedIn. That's more of a business profile. I don't have a lot of art there, but if you go to Instagram and my website, you can read more about me.
Yes. Okay, so we'll be tuning in for sure and look forward to Shipyard ATL.
Yes.
And who knows what more the ancestors are going to make you do.
Great.
In this coming decade.
Yeah, they've got me busy.
I truly look forward. Now we're arriving at the closure, and I would like to play the song that you choose to honor you, which is you chose the Motherland.
Yes.
Called The Score. Can you tell about this song, why you chose it?
Well, I like to paint to African music. And when I was creating for a show, I played this over and over and over again. The entire album, if you haven't heard it, it's a wonderful album. I recommend it. But it also spoke to the context in which I was painting, about the mothers, about the women that were in the ocean. And even today when I hear it, I get emotional just by hearing it, because it takes me back to the painting. It takes me back to that experience. So for me, it not only has a musical context, it also, I think, has a spiritual context to it. And I think it's just a beautiful song.
Yes, that accompanies you while you are listening and creating.
Yes.
And you whispered to me before we went live that there are already some new images, paintings being formed in your mind here in Aruba.
Yes.
So you could say it's like an Aruba seed?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's definitely an Aruba seed.
Beautiful. We look forward to that.
They're already there. And I just, I'm already planning on going to the store and getting what I need. And there's a lot of things going on. So,
beautiful.
Yeah.
Any last words you want to share from your heart? Something you feel you want to
I just would like to, say how grateful I have been over this past year and a half, almost 2 years, of being embraced by Aruba in so many ways, and how it has let me feel at home. And I wish that all people are inspired by something that's greater than themselves, to just look inside.
We have to toast to that.
We will.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Andre. Now I reveal the secret ingredients in my tea before the end of the show. It's tulsi. I'm sure there is an African name for it. I will look it up for you. And lemon balm from my garden. So it's all calming.
It's absolutely delicious.
Yes.
It is. It truly
Glad
is.
you like it.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, we're reaching the end of the show, and in a moment we're going to listen to the Motherland song. So we are saying goodbye to all the YouTube viewers. To meet us on Canal 90 FM website, canal90fm.aw, to listen to the song of the Motherland. And we see it as a celebration of Andre, celebration for intergenerational healing, celebration for the ancestors that are always here with us and always have been and always will be. Thank you. Yes.